Barbados' efforts to establish a minimum corporate tax rate lauded, but a UB economist says it is not an automatic removal from any listing by the Organization for Economic Cooperation. Tourism officials fully focused on driving tourists to Barbados. More complaints about a bushy lot in St. Peter. And in sports, the Red Force advances to the Super 50 Cup final.
The headline news is brought to you by RBC, a bank for all of you.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. A UWI professor is tonight offering his take on Barbados increasing its corporate tax. Professor Justin Robinson says not complying with the international minimum tax rate would have been suicidal. Speaking to CBC News, the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the Five Islands campus says that with two of the island's main trading partners, Canada and the United Kingdom, already signed on, it was best that Barbados follows.
I see this as a necessary response by any responsible administration in Barbados to a global issue that has been thrust upon us, because in many ways Barbados cannot afford to lose its reputation around its international business sector.
While Professor Robinson believes the changes were necessary, he is not sure they were enough to satisfy the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is known to blacklist countries it considers to be tax havens.
What is not so clear is whether implementing the changes, and also we are introducing a system of rebates and other measures which are designed to reduce the effective tax rate for some of these companies if they make certain investments. Whether these changes, along with other issues that the OECD have, whether they will automatically get us off the blacklist, I don't think so. But I think sometimes you have to play the hand you are dealt with. And if we didn't make these changes, then our chances of getting off the blacklist would have been reduced significantly. So at least making these changes does still keep us on the playing field.
And President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados, Tracy Marshall, says terms used in yesterday's presentation of the new tax structure need to be explained. As a result, she says it would be premature for Icab to make a comment on the full impact of the changes.
Terms such as a qualified domestic minimum top-up tax and under-taxed profits were all shared with the public, and these are concepts that are likely foreign to some of our corporate taxpayers. There are also some questions that Icab will have that are not addressed in the ministerial statement, and we would therefore want to engage the Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders before we provide our guidance to the business community.
Along with the new guidelines on corporate tax, Prime Minister Mia Amar Motley says changes are coming to the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office, or CIPO. She says the departments will now fall under a new independent entity called Business Barbados, which was approved by Cabinet last week.
This will house the Corporate Registry and the Intellectual Property Registry, with a separate division as well focused purely on business facilitation in Barbados. Mr. Speaker, this is critical if we are to see greater efficiency in our regulatory compliance and in our business facilitation as a nation. We must now, therefore, engage with the workers and the representatives in the current institutions that exist to ensure that there is a seamless transition, and we will, of course, engage with all stakeholders across the private sector and the labour movement as well, who are not directly involved in this immediate transition.
As Barbados' tourism industry moves closer to 2019 figures, tourism officials are focused on growth and increasing traffic to the island. Minister of Tourism and International Transport Ian Gooding-Edghill says they are concentrating on existing markets, including Canada, the United States and the United Kingdom, as well as new and emerging markets. Crucial partnerships have been forged with British Airways and Virgin Atlantic.
British Airways and Virgin Atlantic will continue to maintain services into Barbados. Effective last October the 29th, British Airways added additional 5 flights per week for the winter season from London Gatwick. This means that we are now operating with 12 flights per week for the 2023-24 winter season. British Airways also confirmed to us, and this is great news for the destination, that their newest Dreamliner 787-10 aircraft will be flying to Barbados. That aircraft will be deployed on March the 31st. That will help us through the summer as well. That therefore means that we'll have an additional 10% increase in our summer capacity.
Minister Gooding-Edghill, who is leading the island's delegation at the World Travel Market in London, is pleased with the feedback for Destination Barbados. Despite substantial demand, he says the cost of airfare remains a concern for travellers. He told Morning Barbados the island remains top of mind and the #1 performer in the Caribbean. Barbados, meanwhile, is set to launch its summer campaign.
The summer campaign will have the desired effect of twinning that with airlift to ensure that we can get additional traffic to Barbados for the summer season. It's going to be, obviously, in a world post-COVID, it's a tough. I'm not going to give the impression it's easy, it's very tough, but we are trying to position ourselves as a destination to ensure that we bring growth to the Barbados market.
Barbados' theme at the tourism trade show is Legends to Legacies, celebrating iconic Barbadians. Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated's director for the UK, Cheryl Carter, says there's a continued confidence in the destination.
We've been busy from the beginning to the end of every day. In the background, you can hear some music. There are other stands that are partying because today is day 3 of the exhibition, and for many of them, they've already finished their meetings. I can tell you we are going to be here until the last bell rings this evening because the destination is in demand and the meetings will continue. We have to see this through to the end, and we have meetings right through. So I think our partners, based on all the feedback, are very happy as well with the connections they've been able to make.
Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago say they remain committed to a process of open communication on matters related to the Eastern Caribbean flying fish stock. This follows a joint communique issued after the senior government officials from both countries met virtually on November the 2nd. The Barbados delegation was led by Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM David Comashong. Officials say the talks were cordial and productive, with the two sides exchanging views on a number of significant issues. The two countries also indicated their desire to enter negotiations towards the conclusion of a new fishing agreement in the future. Well, residents in Farm Road, St. Peter are livid about an overgrown lot in the district. A few weeks ago, the river tamarind trees on the site were infested by some worms, and now the residents say cow itch pods are on the land. Not only are the fibers a nuisance, but community spokesperson and resident Dwayne Scanterbury says the bush, which is dense with foliage as tall as utility poles in some sections, is a security and health threat. Scanterbury, who has lived in the community for over 30 years, says the unkempt lot belongs to one of the largest churches on the island. However, when he approached authorities, he did not receive satisfaction, as he was constantly being turned around and redirected to different offices.
I appealed to see if someone would come up from church to come and take a look at it and see if they could get cleaner as soon as possible. Because the coverage, when we wash our clothes, our clothes bother me a lot. When we sweat, it itches.
Well, efforts to acquire a comment from the church officials concerning that overgrown lot proved futile. We'll take a break here, but coming up, debate in the Senate on the transformation of the Barbados Licensing Authority. Now to news from the Senate. Leader of Government Business and Minister of Energy, Senator Lisa Cummins, believes all Barbadians are awaiting the transformation of the Barbados Licensing Authority. She acknowledged a number of changes have been undertaken over the years to assist, more recently, amendments to the Road Traffic Act. She welcomed the changes to the legislation on driver's license renewal for seniors and the inclusion of privately owned garages to assess vehicles. Senator Cummins, as she led off debate on the Road Traffic Amendment Bill, highlighted her personal experience, telling the Senate the inclusion of private garages will ease the licensing authority.
What they have done is to take some of the pressure off of the single location that is the Pine in St. Michael by allowing for privately owned garages to be able to deliver these services. Now, this is an opportunity as well, Mr. President, for the inclusion of the private sector in the delivery of government services, because I also remember on that same occasion where I went to get my sticker, I kept saying, but why can't this be included when I go to get my insurance certificate? Why would the insurance company not equally be providing me at the time in 2019 with my new registration, my insurance certificate, and my sticker at the same time to show the period for which I am insured?
Well, given the importance of tourism to Barbados, Government Senator Patricia Paris called for attention to be placed on vital signage across the island in need of repair or replacement. The call came during her contribution to the debate on the Road Traffic Amendment Bill in the Upper House.
Not only is it unsightly, but it gives you don't have guidance as to where to go. Tourism is still our main money earner, and as we move to a modern Barbados, the directional signage we see on our roads is inadequate. I spoke to this matter of signage in a previous debate, and I hope that on speaking to it a second time, that it is rectified.
Senator Paris also made a plea for a re-examination of the pedestrian crossings. She raised concerns, citing she's seen the behavior of motorists on a daily basis.
I feel that before a crossing is decided on, that inspections be done at various times to assess the traffic flow, and so that we can cater to persons. I am appealing, if it is not done now, will it assess the area before putting down the pedestrian crossings, that it is done, it is implemented. This would provide valuable data as to the volume and characteristics of the pedestrian population who typically use the crossing.
Government Senator John King, who rose in support of the amendments to the road traffic bill, says there is a level of impatience among some motorists towards the older driver.
You might be driving behind the older person and taking the time going out the highway. But the person behind you now, in such a hurry to get to wherever it is to get, God knows where, at what time. You can't wait. You can hear the honking the horns all the time. Or, if you're unfortunate enough to hear the curse words coming out the mouth, you get to hear that too. So that when you do this with all good intentions, I am clear in my mind that we are going to have a fight on our hands to deal with that type of, I always refer to them as antisocial people, because that's what they are.
In examining amendments to the road traffic bill, independent Senator Christopher Minard called for clarity for the section of the bill that speaks to physical fitness.
One's physical fitness has nothing to do with mental fitness. And Senator Thompson pointed out, I think it was Senator Thompson this morning, that the census shows that there are significant numbers of people in this country affected by dementia. I believe, sir, that part of this bill, sir, needs to be clarified. Most doctors, sir, are responsible, and I don't believe they'll give a patient whom they know has dementia a medical certificate to drive, sir. Sir, because people with dementia don't always manifest all the symptoms all day.
In tonight's report on business, every house roof in Barbados should be fitted with a solar panel. Businessman and the chairman of Williams Industries, Ralph Busy Williams, made the call in his remarks at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados webinar and panel discussion, The Road to 2023, the SDGs and Why Should It Matter to Me. He said the initiative should be embraced by everyone and the Barbados Light and Power Company should be given the authority to install storage facilities.
Let's put this obsession with the light and power, looking to juke Barbados or something like that, is rubbish. We need a united approach to this thing. Embrace the light and power, which has given us good electricity supply for 130-something years, I think you said, Roger. And we will get it done.
The businessman said the way forward calls for a united approach between government, stakeholders and all Barbados. He said it is not a fashion trend.
At the current rates that are paid for electricity, anybody can have a solar system on the house. Okay? But the utility has to be put in a position to receive the power. And the only way the utility can be put in a position to receive the power is to make the utilities, the length of time that the utility has to recover the cost of the investment long enough that it makes financial sense to do it.
The University of the West Indies KFIL campus wants to play its part in strengthening Barbados' international business sector. This was confirmed by Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor Clive Landis as the university held a roundtable discussion on propelling the sector. Professor Landis suggests the university can help in this regard through research and human resource development.
And I have no doubt that Barbados can leverage its unique attractions as a safe and desirable destination to establish itself as a hub of international business and finance within this new global market space. The campus therefore fully supports the value-added model advocated by BIBA President Jamar Arthur Selman, in which international businesses can be persuaded to set up in Barbados based on the value that the country can add to several layers of their business. This is where the campus can bring the second pillar of research into play.
Now, Mark Seelid is back with us for another look at sports. He did promise us some swimming. Mark, just out of curiosity, can you swim?
Well, I used to. I haven't done that in a while.
Oh, okay.
But clearly not competitively, though. I assure you not. Orange Cheetahs dethroned Green Dragons to be crowned champions of the Queen's College Inter-House Swimming Sports at the Aquatic Centre recently. Spearheaded by Victor Ludorm, Caden Aline Bovell, and Victrix Ludorm, Michaela Clark, the Cheetahs totaled 360.5 points to capture the title. CBC's Anmar Goodrich-Boyce reports.
Section 1 of the girls' 50-meter freestyle 15 and over event. We pick up the action at the end of the first lap. All eyes are on lane number 3. That's Michaela Clark representing the Orange Cheetahs. She's all alone and finishes in 33.16 seconds. Way ahead of Zoe Collymore of the Blue Bulldogs, 39.84 seconds. And Zaria Dowell of the Green Dragons in 42.22 seconds. The second section featured 4 competitors, with the Dragons picking up some much-needed points thanks to Araya Cobbin-Austin. She's cutting her way through the waters to victory in 36.58 seconds before Janaya Maskell of the Red Raptors in 42.24 seconds and Shante Boxall of the Blue Bulldogs in 47.84. The boys 15 and over 50-meter freestyle were up next. First section was a full field, and this race perhaps was one of the most keenly contested events. Turn your attention to the left of your screen where the battle is between Caden Aline Bovell in lane 5 and Nathaniel Alls of the Green Dragons in 3. Even Stevens as they push for home, but Aline Bovell touches the wall in 28.91 seconds to Edge Al's 28.94, and the Red Raptors' Elijah's Daniel 32.78. The next section was not as quick, but definitely didn't lack competitiveness. Anyone's race at this stage in the first lap, and as they turn for home, Aidan Dean Warner of the Purple Python seized the advantage. He's being challenged by Cody Holder of the Green Dragons, but in the end, Dean Warner prevails in 34.81 seconds. Holder is second, 39.08 seconds, while Andre Baptiste of the Orange Cheetahs was third in 40.65. Relay action to bring the curtain down on Queen's College's swim sports. It's the boys 15 and over 4x25 meter medley. They start with a backstroke before moving on to the breaststroke and butterfly. But let's fast forward to the final freestyle leg, where the Cheetahs ended off just where they started to clinch victory in 1 minute 17.53 seconds, ahead of the Bulldogs and the Dragons. And Margaret's boys, CBC Sports.
8 teams have confirmed their participation in this year's second edition of the Joseph Payne Memorial Secondary Schools Field Events Competition, set for next month. The meet, which is scheduled for December 12th and 13th, has seen an increase in interest, with a few primary schools entered in the under-13 division. An educational workshop was also on the cards for physical education teachers this week. Meet director and veteran track and field coach Wendy Barrow-Smith says the event continues to play a crucial role in developing field event athletes on the island.
These events over the last couple of years in this program have unearthed some many hidden talents in our secondary schools, and as well as our primary schools. We've recently started the shot put in the primary schools, and it's developed a lot of interest. The kids that are going on to secondary school are very enthusiastic about it. So we're looking forward to seeing them perform during the secondary schools program.
Chairman of the Charles Walcott Foundation, Charles Walcott, says the organization is making an effort to ensure there are more field event facilities for young athletes.
As you may be aware, there are few facilities in Barbados where field event athletes can train and throw a shot put, discus, or javelin and share the same space with other activities. Therefore, our foundation is making a significant effort to provide more facilities to assist with the further development of our field event athletes in Barbados. At present, we are discussing with our facilities partners the installation of javelin, long jump, and high jump facilities. So the venues have to be confirmed, but we will provide these facilities to 5 secondary school where we provided facilities over the past 4 years.
And that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.